Big welcome everybody to our free top tip tutorials. If you've never joined us before or you have missed out, just to be aware, we have hundreds of free tutorials on our YouTube channel. Just search Kay's Flower School. Now I'd really appreciate if you shared these videos, especially if you happen to be a member of a flower club or again a floral society. Again, let's get the word out there. Few tips. If you haven't joined us before, why don't you put this video on pause and pop off and get yourself a notebook and pen, so then you can write down all our top tips and tricks. What I always suggest to our students is to have a particular page in their notebook for each specific flower, and again write down my top tips but also write down their experiences with flowers. So what are we going to talk about today? Today it's going to be all about Singapore orchids, or Dendrobium as they're naturally known as. So these obviously are part of the orchid family, and like all orchids, they're a great long-lasting flower. You could find 14 to 21 days, like that is just amazing. Now what you need to be aware of is they hate the cold, so you need to kind of keep them in rooms 15 degrees Celsius, and you need to mist them. So by keeping them misted, that'll help to prolong the life of them. So if any of you out there were maybe asked to do arrangements for nursing homes or hospitals or hotels, you know, where it is naturally going to be that little bit warmer, think about incorporating Singapore orchids. You can get lots of other colours. I have the white ones here today because I am going to be talking about weddings in a couple of minutes. But again, for your flower arrangements, fabulous pinks and vibrant purples and greens, and at certain times of the year you can get them in dyed colours as well. So as I said, great long lasting flower. They're available all year round, so that's another great aspect. You know the way with certain orchids, they're only available at a certain time of the year, but the Dendrobium is available all the year. I often find, and this isn't, you know, kind of gospel, but I kind of associate them a little bit with the Phalaenopsis orchid. So the Phalaenopsis orchid being your mammy, and the Singapore orchid or the Dendrobium orchid being like the little baby. A bit like large standard orchids being the mammy and Cymbidium orchid kind of being the baby version of it. So just to maybe kind of like keep that in mind. They don't like the flower heads to be submerged in water. So make sure that when you're placing them in your vase of water, that keep the water quite low. They don't drink a lot of water to start off with. Most times when they come in, they'll have the water vial at the end, which normally has a special orchid food, and that would have been during the transportation from Holland to Ireland. It'd be absolutely no harm at all to take 1-2 centimetres off the end at a 45-degree angle and place them back into them floral tubes. And often what I do is I then stand them in an empty vase, or even a vase with 1 inch or 2 of water in the end, which will probably cover the vials, but it just gives the vase a little bit of balance so that it doesn't topple over, because they are quite a light flower. But if the ones that you buy in haven't got a vial at the end, they were dry packed, that's absolutely fine as well. Again, just recut the ends and place them in a shallow vase or container of water. Now what will happen is the heads that you leave submerged indefinitely under the water, they'll go kind of very limp and a little bit kind of like see-through. But you will find if they need to be revived, so if you find that the heads are dehydrated, you can actually submerge them in water for a short amount of time, 20 minutes, 30 minutes maximum, okay? Stand them back up the right way, and again that'll actually bring the heads back to life again for you. Avoid cold, avoid the drafts, keep them in a warm room, and they're absolutely brilliant for wedding work, which is what I have them in for today. So I would encourage my students when they're using them maybe in teardrop bouquets or shower bouquets to see the way, whether you're deciding to use foam or do an all-wired version of the bouquet, to see the way you can make some amazing trails or tails you see coming down out of your wedding bouquet. Or again, if you were doing a cascading wedding bouquet, haven't got enough hands here to kind of hold them all, but again, can you see the way for a cascading, or what we often describe as a waterfall wedding bouquet? These are just amazing. The bounce and the movement in them is fabulous. But also what I would use them in is so looking like butterflies in your hand-tied bouquets, leave the little bit of length and let them bounce, you know, that way over like your lower placed flowers, whether it be roses or helleborus or anemones, whatever other flowers that you're using. Can you imagine them kind of like bouncing over the top of them? And again, it is possible to kind of like take the real tight tail off the top, kind of cut right back into the little V, and again you'll still have some amazing flowers bouncing over them. But one other thing to mention, and again it's something we cover with our students here on Module 3, they are a brilliant flower to wire up. So wiring up the individual heads, you can make fabulous corsage work out of them. So whether it be corsages for the mother of the bride to wear on her chest, or corsages to wear, you know, on the wrist corsages, maybe for the Deb's graduation, but again, mother of the bride or bridesmaids, for cake top decorations, cake corsages, what I was going to say, hat corsages, waist corsages, just so much work, you know what I mean, so many ideas that you can actually create using these Singapore orchids. And as I said, they're such a great lasting flower out of water. Hopefully I've given you a couple of tips, okay? Again, if you have any questions at all, feel free, post all your questions in the comments below. We will respond back to every question that is posted. And again, a little reminder, I'd really appreciate if you click share, especially if you're in a flower club or floral society, like let's get as many tips and tricks out there. Again, thank you for joining. My name is Janette and I'm from Case Flower School.